And I remember just picking up a wall and slamming it down and being like, oh, I just can't do this anymore. My version of resilience was keep pushing through no matter how bad your body feels. You have to get through what the situation that you're in. And, you know, in the same way, I think everyone experiences that at some point. It's like most sort of health things, it's when you're like that all the time for months and months and months, and dragging yourself out of it just feels like really hard work. Okay, cool. So, hi, I'm Kirsty. I came up with the business idea when I was with a work trip in Lake Tahoe. And so my business is basically based around that. It's called InTah because I was inspired when I was at Lake Tahoe. And I help publicly funded organizations, emergency services, armed forces, to help with human performance optimization. So essentially preventing burnout.
That's really interesting. What made you come up with the idea?
So I was on this work trip and I had been put as a leader of I used to be in the military, and I was put as a leader of a team of people who'd never worked together specifically before, and I'd never even met them. And we'd gone away for the weekend, had a couple of days off, went to Lake Tahoe, and it just worked so well. It was the best kind of combination of somewhere different, somewhere outdoorsy, a bit of development, felt quite purposeful, quite exciting, but a bit of downtime and chill time as well. And you know that moment where you're like, that's the secret sauce. How the hell do I get that again? And so, yeah, basically, I now help people to find the secret sauce.
Is there a method?
So it's a method that we have produced, which is basically taken combinations of human performance optimization and the kind of the pillars behind that, plus my first-hand experience of having gone through burnout and having worked in the military myself and knowing sort of what that looks like and the pressures and the expectations and going all over the place with kind of no notice. And then from there, we've created our own ecosystem.
Does burnout, I'm just really interested, does burnout look different for different people, or is there other signs of it?
Yeah, I mean, so there's sort of clinical definitions, but basically it's when you get to the point, if you've been working really, really hard, where you get a bit resentful. So you don't love what you're doing anymore. So you're still working really hard, but you're completely exhausted, overwhelmed, not sleeping well, waking up at 2:00 in the morning, thinking about your to-do list, and just dragging yourself. So, you know, that feeling where you first get into a job where you are like inspired and you're like, yeah, this is great, and you can't wait. And it's sort of the opposite of that, really. So it's when you've lost that va-va-voom and get to a point where you're like, I'm doing this because I have to do it.
Is that not just part of, like, especially when it comes to running a business, it's just part of running a business?
I guess it depends how long you're there for. So yeah, I think everyone experiences that at some point. It's like most sort of health things, it's when you're like that all the time for months and months and months, and dragging yourself out of it just feels like really hard work. I think there's elements of that actually can teach you quite a lot going through that experience. Am I actually aligning with my values? Am I doing something because I have to do it or because I want to do it? And, you know, there's definitely, as you say, an element of grit and resilience that you have to go through stuff that you don't want to do. But if you're in it constantly and your whole life is being consumed by it, that's when it's, yeah. Yeah. Or do something differently.
It's really interesting. Yeah, because I guess you could look around in your own network and see people burning out.
Yeah.
They're just, yeah.
And quite often it's, as I say, I kind of touch on the word resentful quite often, because it's where you're doing stuff because you have to, fine, once, twice, 3, 4 times. When you get to the point where you're like, I feel like I don't have a choice. I feel like I have to be doing this. I'm waking up at 2:00 in the morning thinking about things that there's a very fine line between feeling purposeful and passionate and inspired and motivated and excited versus like, yeah, right.
How's the business grown since you started?
A whole load of twists and turns. I mean, I think it's the classic entrepreneurship of roller coaster. But mostly it's been my own input. So we started just before COVID, and we basically work on the premise of overseas expeditions. Not ideal when you've just started and then there's a whole world lockdown. Then I had my own health issues to contend with, so I put the business on hold for 2 years, which was hard going, but in hindsight, the right thing to do. And also I've learned quite a lot about myself as an entrepreneur, but also about how that learning and that journey really helps the tribe of people that we support. Because pretty much everything I've been through is quite prevalent in the people that we help. And so actually I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but having first-hand experience of it has really helped to shape the business. So.
Can you give me like a case there? I'm just interested to know, like, has it been someone you've worked with and you're like, you're really bad and you really need help? Has it been that situation?
Yeah, I mean, so it's been an interesting one, because one of the things that we've looked at in the business is, and I use metaphors quite a lot. So we looked at, if you imagine like someone swimming, are we a swim teacher? Are we a lifeguard? Are we the RNLI? Do you know what I mean? Like, so there are quite a lot of like military charities and charities for the armed forces that help you when you're really struggling with your mental health. And actually, we kind of wanted to make sure that we filled the gap in between and that we can signpost people. So there are people that we've come across who are really, really struggling, who we've helped to get to a certain point and then signposted them. And then there's other people that are like, I can see this coming. I need help now before I get to that point. And so it's been really rewarding helping them. And you can literally see them go, cool, I'm now back where I need to be and not going further.
Do you remember that moment for you personally when you were like, shit, I need to do something?
I do, but the worrying thing was that I only remember it in hindsight. So there was a moment where I was deployed in the military, and I was really struggling, and we'd all gone out on a work night out, and we were playing a game around a pool table. And I remember just picking up a ball and slamming it down and being like, oh, I just can't do this anymore. The biggest issue was that no one picked up on that. No one said anything. Everyone just carried on. And like, that's not me at all. So for me to do that in front of work colleagues was really out of the ordinary. And I was just totally mortified by it, but then just kept going, just kept working. Just so like, for me, grit and resilience kind of worked against me in that situation. But in hindsight, there's a lot of things. But the difficulty and the thing we find with a lot of our tribe members is that they're literally recruited and trained to get through everything. So just to shut down and keep going, just to keep walking, just keep putting one foot in front of the other, because you have to in those situations. But then if you always do that, your body is permanently in fight or flight. You're just running on adrenaline and caffeine and alcohol. So so I guess what we do is basically helping people realize that I just can't do this anymore moment is the moment to go, okay, we need to do something different and not just keep working harder.
How did it make you feel when you're out there helping?
I mean, it's amazing because I think part of me, like the inner part of me, is like, I wish I'd had that. So I basically came up with the business idea of what I needed but couldn't find. So part of me is like, this is amazing that I can help other people. I generally love interacting with other people anyway. And the fact that I can see that transformation in them as well. And they quite often are like, I don't know how this works, but I'm working less hard and achieving more. I mean, ultimately, he wouldn't want that. So yeah. It is great. It is really great watching the journey with people.
And imagine now we're having this conversation again at IDEX Fest in 5 years' time. What will you be telling me? How's the business developing?
Ooh. So I think at the moment we're launching expeditions, but at the moment we're sort of like ones and twos. So it'd be great to get to the point where we've got more of a variety, so that the idea is that it's not a fire and forget business. So people come to us and then we help them through a journey, which can include expeditions, can include sort of programs, things like that. But to make sure that we're really giving options to the people so they've got the right support and the right excitement and the right product for us.
A bit more of a personal question, because obviously this is founder stories.
Yeah.
It's about the founders, and obviously it's about the business, but about the founders themselves. But like, would the young girl you once were be proud of you?
Love that question. Yeah, but for a whole load of reasons that she never even imagined. So I went to a grammar school, so you became a doctor, a lawyer, or a vet. And I didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer, so I was going to be a vet. And it wasn't until I went on an expedition myself, and someone said, why the hell are you making yourself do chemistry, which you hate, in order to become a vet, where you have to interact with a lot of sick animals and they're humans and not the cute little fluffy ones that you want? Do you know what I mean? So like, actually, if I was small Kirsty looking at me now going, oh my God, you found the thing you want to do and that you love doing and your purpose, not just the funnel that everyone else told you to follow. So yeah.
And obviously there's the younger generation now, I find I worry for my daughter because I don't know how to word this, but I feel like they're less resilient. They're not as, is there any advice that you could give to someone who might be going through a difficult time, especially so much the younger generation, and what could they be doing? Is there more that I could do about themselves?
I think resilience is an interesting one because I don't think it's cut and dry what resilience looks like. So our definition of resilience, I think, is quite different. Which is my version of resilience was keep pushing through no matter how bad your body feels, which I think, is a strategy, but not necessarily the strategy that works. I think for kids, the biggest lesson that I learned was if you observe what your body is telling you and then choose to push through or choose to take heed and relax based on what works best for you in the situation, that's a form of resilience. Whereas just ignoring it and carrying on is only one part of the resilience umbrella.
I guess for a little bit of context for the question was recently, so we were just at an event, a festival, and there was a heavy focus on the migration stories of like the grandparents and great-grandparents from InTah when they went basically all over the place. And there was one particular story where they travelled on a steamer 3 months from Mozambique to Portugal. And on that journey, they don't have phones back then, but they watch their friends die, they watch people go overboard and stuff like that. And I'm looking at my grandparents, this older generation, so differently now because they went through so much, and they've come over here now and they've started their businesses and they're very successful. And I'm like, I don't know if I could ever deal with what we went through and still feel like I've been successful in what I've achieved. So it's like, that's where the kind of idea of the time.
I mean, I think there's a definite thing of you have to get through what the situation that you're in. And, in the same way, if a saber-toothed tiger came along right now, you'd miraculously find yourself running at great speed that you never thought was possible because that's what you have to do in the situation. So I think it's, you never know what your body can achieve. And quite often humans aren't designed to run at 100% the whole time. But that doesn't mean that you can't run at 100%. And probably you don't know what your 100% looks like. But in a way you shouldn't, because that's why we've evolved to where we are right now. So yeah, I think there's different things there's different types of resilience. I think there's a lot of things that kids are doing now, even just having social media. I look at it like I got social media as I was joining university. God knows how much stuff would have been on social media from school and uni and whatever else that I'm like, oh no. That for me is a resilience thing, like actually having to contend with technology and AI and whatever else. That's a whole new form of hardship some way.
Sure. And because if I gave you like 2 minutes in front of an audience of like 10,000 people, is there a message that you'd like to give to them?
You know what your drive and purpose is. I think as a society, we've been conditioned to following a set path. Go to school, go to uni, go to whatever else. And that does work for some people. But I think you can be given all the advice in the world, but you know yourself best. So take it on board, go, yeah, cool, thanks very much. I've acknowledged that, but whether you decide to act on it is your right, not anyone else's.
You got me thinking.
Cool,
For
good.
sure. Is it just in interest of time? Is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like me to ask?
No, I mean, I think the main thing is I've really learnt a lot through my journey about purpose is a big thing for me. As you say, resilience and grit, and actually what that means, but how much further you can get by unlearning the working hard gets you luckier, working hard gets you success, working hard. Like, I don't think we're there anymore. I think our generation and the generations that are coming are much better in tune with working smart, working in the world that works for them, working around what makes them inspired and motivated will get you further. No worries. Thank you very much. That was awesome. Thank you.